I'm ABC 13's Dana Evans. Trust is important. At ABC 13, you can trust that we're fighting for you, asking the tough questions, because accountability matters. Watch ABC 13 on TV or WSET.com. That's coverage you can count on.
Well, hello. Welcome back to the Chamber Vibes podcast. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Let me just give you a rundown of what's going on. So I'm your host, Foster Garrett, Director of Marketing and Events for the Bedford Area Chamber of Commerce, which, if you don't know what chambers are, is a nonprofit membership organization that strives to help the Bedford area prosper by serving and collaborating with local businesses, organizations, and people. And every week I get to interview a different chamber member to find out what they do and why they do it. And it's recorded right here in beautiful Bedford, Virginia, broadcasting on Grove Street FM and brought to you by Media Squatch. I also want to thank Mark Snowden with Lamar Outdoor Advertising, who is our sponsor. Thank you so much for helping us bring this podcast to you. Without people like Mark, we wouldn't be able to do things like this, and it is an excellent way. Just by listening, you can find all sorts of great things in the Bedford area. There's so many hidden gems and things that you maybe know about but don't really know about in full, or you haven't taken the time to actually go visit them. So we really appreciate Mark's support, and I hope that you continue listening. But before we get to the actual podcast, I do want to tell you about some of our previous chamber events. If you normally listen, you know I normally say upcoming, but we just had a really big event happen last Friday, our spring job fair, and I am just basking a little cloud of happiness because it went so well. Thank you so much to everybody that participated, whether it was as a employer that came out and wanted to recruit some people, or one of our volunteers. We had so many volunteers that helped make that event go really well, or one of the 200 job seekers that came out looking for a job. We really appreciate all of you, and we hope that this event was really helpful for you. There are so many different career opportunities available and resources in our area as well that were kind of exhibited here, whether it be commuter services or workforce services or social services. We really tried to bring it all together, and we hope that that was impactful and valuable for you. But we will actually have our fall job fair this year. If you've been involved with the chamber for a while, you know that before 2020, we had 2 job fairs a year, and they've always been really large public job fairs just to help people find jobs and businesses find great people to hire for their companies. But COVID brought us down to 1 job fair, so we're excited to bring back 2 for the first time this year. And we actually have the date and the place set for the fall one. It'll be August 22nd at Blue Ridge Community Church in New London. We're so excited to be partnering with them. They are not only a fantastic venue, but great people. And we're excited to start releasing some more information as it gets a little closer. But if you missed the spring job fair and you think you'll be recruiting for the fall, think about coming and joining us at this event. And we have a lot of other opportunities coming up. Summer slows down a little bit because everybody's going on vacation, but we try to stay busy. We try to still provide different workshops and opportunities for you guys to connect with one another and to build your business. So if you are interested, you can go on bedfordareachamber.com. We have a full calendar of events that's filled with things from not only us, but from our members. So you can go there and learn more. And if you want to call us, I will drop our phone number at the very end, so make sure to listen all the way through so you can contact us for more information. But that's enough from me. Without further ado, please allow me to introduce today's guests, Ann Bogus, Bob Garst, and Taylor Akers with the National D-Day Memorial. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Good morning.
Good morning. I know, it's kind of funny with multiple guests here. We all just kind of stare at each other and we look, who's going to talk first? Especially first thing in the morning. But who wants to introduce themselves first?
I'll be glad to.
Okay,
I'm
awesome.
Ann Bogus, and I was born and raised in Bedford. I retired 5 years ago from Roanoke County as an assessor. And first thing on my list of things I wanted to do was to become a volunteer at the National D-Day Memorial. And so I've been there about 5 years. I volunteer in the gift shop and just enjoy it so much. Such a great group of staff and volunteers. It's wonderful to get up, throw some makeup on, and drive to Bedford. I live in Bonsack now, and it just makes my day.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we'll circle back to you, Ann.
Okay, great.
Bob, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Bob Garst. I live in Roanoke, and I've been volunteering here since 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently I like it. I've been doing it for 15 years. I have a military background. I spent 22 years in the Army, and my dad was a World War II veteran in the Pacific. So I just years ago came down and sat in on a volunteer orientation day one day, and it's like, I think I'd like to do this, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. 15 years.
Yeah,
That's a long time. You probably saw me when I was a little kid going there.
could be. They all look the same.
Okay. Bob's got jokes this morning. I need to drink a little bit more of my coffee. I can't keep up. Taylor, how about you?
So I'm Taylor Akers. Currently, I live in Lynchburg. I moved there in 2021 for school. I went to University of Lynchburg, studied in history and museum studies. Then I graduated in 2024, and I had been with the D-Day since I think 2022. I was part-time, but then I was lucky enough to get a full-time position, and so it's really been fun and a learning experience being a volunteer coordinator.
Oh, I'm sure. Especially, how many volunteers do you guys have right now?
Right now we have 144. Active, we have about 74, but you still keep in contact with all of them. So it's a lot of emails. You can ask Bob and Ann. This week alone has been like 5 emails a day.
That's amazing. See, when I ask people about how many volunteers they have, when they say anything over like 30, I'm like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
144.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I know that's a lot of work.
It is. It's a lot of work.
But it's so incredible when you see that people really want to be involved, because volunteering, it's a choice, and it can be a commitment if you really want it to be. But you guys driving here from Roanoke and Bonsack to volunteer at the D-Day Memorial, I know that you said that you're a veteran, and that connection makes sense. And the impact of the D-Day Memorial, it's something that you can't go there one time and ignore. You feel it. But Anne, have you told us a little bit about why you started volunteering at the D-Day Memorial?
Well, it's kind of twofold. My mom has been involved since day one. I actually remember Bob Slaughter tried to get the memorial in Roanoke, and they really weren't particularly interested. And I remember reading his book, and he mentioned that he had gotten a letter from Mike Shelton, who was then the mayor of Bedford, and my mom. And she was Commissioner of Revenue at the time, encouraging him to come to Bedford. And so she has been with it since day one. So it partially, to honor her and all her commitment, and then also to honor my uncles that were killed on D-Day.
Mm-hmm.
So I love giving back. I just don't understand why anybody wouldn't want to give back. It's just such a joy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that I try to find little ways. It's hard when you're young and trying to start your career and you work for a nonprofit to to do service outside of what you already do through work. But I try to do small things like volunteer at the animal shelter, and it just enriches my life so much to serve others, even in small ways. And I think that the D-Day Memorial is so important, not only to Bedford, but in general to the world, really. Like 144 volunteers, it makes sense. And what are some of the things that you got? I know that you mentioned that you volunteer at the gift shop.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, what are some of the things that you do at the D-Day?
Primarily, I'm a tour guide.
Okay.
I work, I'm usually here at least one day a week, some weeks more than that. And we work either a morning or afternoon shift. And during that time, you may be giving 1 or 2 tours to people, just walk-in people. So that's primarily what I do. We have special events, of course, when groups come in and they need tour guides for those groups. Sometimes there are VIPs, special people that come in. So I've been used several times for that. So that's my main focus, is giving the tours and telling the story.
Yeah. And I'm sure there was a lot of training involved with learning how to give the tours.
Yeah, it's pretty flexible. And it's changed, I guess, a little bit over the years, but it mainly involves starting off by following other tour guides, doing a number of shadowing tours and just seeing how other tour guides do their job. And everyone's a little different. They all cover the same basic story, but each tour guide tells a story a little different, or maybe puts an emphasis on one thing or something else. So by shadowing these other tour guides, you kind of get a big picture of what the story is and how you may want to approach it. And then there's always a recommendation to read a couple of books, the Bedford Boys primarily. And then when you feel like you're ready to give a tour, you give kind of a trial tour to an experienced tour guide or to Taylor, and they say, yes, you're ready, or no, you need to study a little bit more or whatever, and then you're in. So that's the way the tour guide volunteer works.
That is awesome. Taylor, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
He's not just saying that because he's the one that helps pass or fail.
Oh, he's the expert tour guide. Okay. When you said that they used you for the VIPs, I understand that you weren't just flexing on us now.
No.
No.
No, but sometimes the D-Day Memorial, they'll have donors maybe that bring in an additional person, like they're trying to get somebody else to be a donor or whatever. And I get called by the development people sometimes to give a tour to this potential donor. And you kind of want to, make sure they go away with a good feeling. So I try to do that.
I'm just imagining. You said that some of the tour guides put different spins on the stories.
Yeah.
What can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Some of the tour guides spend quite a bit of time talking about the Bedford Boys, which certainly makes sense. But I don't. I talk about the Bedford Boys. I mean, I tell that story a little bit. But one of the things that I do early in the tour is I kind of try to paint a big picture of why D-Day was important and how it came about. Because I think a lot of people who come here, they know D-Day had something to do with World War II, and apparently it was a big deal. But that's kind of where their knowledge stops. So I spend about 5 minutes giving them what I call my history lesson, and just explaining about how we went into North Africa, we went into Sicily, we went into Italy, and finally it was time to go into Northern Europe and make the big push. And I think that gives them a little appreciation as to why D-Day was a big deal. And then all the supporting roles and the things that went on in England prior to the actual landings. So I guess I give just more of a context maybe than some of the other guys. But again, each one tells a little different part of the story.
Yeah, I think context is so key to D-Day because I think growing up in Bedford, I knew about D-Day. Right. I knew about the Bedford Boys, and I'd been taught about them throughout my whole life going to Bedford Elementary School.
Sure.
I just went to D-Day for every field trip. I worked in the Victory Garden as a club after school. Yeah. So it was just part of my life. But as I got older, learning how instrumental D-Day was in turning the tide in World War II, and that our little town was essential in that, it really makes it personal.
Yes.
In a way that I think we take for granted.
Yeah. And I think it, if I can tell a story, several years ago, I gave a tour to a group of Virginia Tech students. The professor brought them down, and we'd finished the tour, and we're standing up there in the arch, and one of the students, a young girl in the class, she just all of a sudden broke down and started crying. So it's kind of an awkward situation, but everybody was kind of like, okay. And so she got her composure back, and she said, I'm sorry. She says, but my grandfather was in World War II. She says, I have no idea what he did. I don't know where he was. I know nothing about him other than the fact that he was in World War II some way, somehow. And he passed away about 6 months ago. And she said, for the first time today coming here, I realized what a part he played in history. And it, she just felt so bad because she had never really tried to capture what he did. But she became aware of that big piece of history by being here. And I think other people have the same type of feeling, that it's like all of a sudden their eyes are open to the fact that, wow, this was a big deal. And sometimes a grandparent or a parent or somebody played a role in that big deal. So that's rewarding to me.
Absolutely. That's amazing. It kind of makes the hair stand up on my arms a little bit to
Yeah.
think about it, because thinking about sacrifice is not really the same as like understanding the true impact of it.
Yep.
And what that means. You mentioned that's very rewarding to you, and I can see that. Can we talk about some of the other things that are rewarding or gratifying from volunteering at D-Day? Anne, do you want to share?
I guess I'm drawing a little bit of a blank.
You're like, I just like it.
Bob's story got me a little emotional.
I know.
As,
It's hard to move on from that.
People in my family never talked about it. And, you hear that so much that people just didn't talk about what happened. And then I talked to Taylor Feller's family, and they talked about Taylor all the time. So I just think that's wonderful. I wish my family had handled it different, but that's just the way it was. But I just, I enjoy being there just to honor all veterans, not just necessarily the Bedford boys, but to honor everyone. It's a good feeling. And I think people have to realize, I think people think it's overwhelming to volunteer up there. They just ask for 3.5 hours once a month.
That's not bad at all.
It's not a big deal, because I've talked to several people about coming up, and they seem to be overwhelmed by, but there's so many different positions, so many things to do that we have an education hut that we try to keep open with artifacts, and that's just a matter of having somebody in there to keep an eye on the artifacts. There's really nothing you have to do except just sit there, welcome people in. So there's a lot of jobs that are just simple, that is not a big, like the tour guides is a little bit more because they have to remember so much information.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the gift shop because I get to stay busy and put stuff up on the shelves. But then people come in and ask so many questions. And so it's given me a chance to learn a lot that I didn't know.
That is like one of the most rewarding parts of my job, is I get to connect with so many different people and learn so many different things. And I think especially after the pandemic, that sense of community and camaraderie and learning new things and connecting with new people, we all kind of lost that. And so it just means so much to me when people go out of their way to really talk to you and ask you questions, and you get to ask them questions, and it makes you feel like you're part of something greater.
Right. People come in from all over, and a lot of them have a story and they want to tell you their story. So that's interesting. It really is.
Absolutely. Anne mentioned some of the various that you can do a lot. I know Taylor's been sitting in the back.
No, it's fine.
No. Tell us a little bit about some of the different things that you can do at D-Day.
So as Anne mentioned, we have the educational hut, and a lot of times people think that they have to basically give a tour when they're in the educational hut, and you don't have to do that. If somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, I just tell them, hey, tell the people to come into the gift shop and ask, because more than likely somebody in there knows the answer. And then we have the gift shop, and that's basically just kind of keeping things organized, helping out our retail manager, Joe, who does a great job. He has all kinds of new merchandise constantly. Then tour guide, like Bob said, and there's no limit on how long it takes you to study, and you don't have to memorize the script, just basically know what you need to talk about. And everybody talks about something differently. A lot of people like to focus more in the garden on Eisenhower, and then some people like to focus more at like Point de Hoc, and it really varies what they're interested in, but they all still tell the story. We have some volunteers, all they do is help with special events. So Memorial Day, Veterans Day, we had a lot of those for the 80th, which I'm not complaining about because we needed those. So that's always an option. We also have tons of school groups, and most of the time those work by each tour being about 45 minutes. And typically people will sign up for those, and that's really all that they do that day. And then they can leave, or they can continue to volunteer for however long they want to. Or it's like how we have Franklin County coming this morning, and it's like a very large group. So we have it kind of set up in stations. So there's like 4 different tour guides, but each station's like 15 minutes. So it's kind of varying about like what you can do, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do. And if there's something that you're particular about, I'm sure I can find something that you can do.
Planting flowers.
Yeah, planting flowers. We also do a lot of landscaping. We have a lot of volunteers for that. So we have spring planting that's about to come up on the 5th. Basically, a lot of the volunteers just volunteer for that day to plant flowers throughout the memorial, and that's what makes it look pretty.
It does look beautiful. And I personally love gardening and getting outside. And you mentioned the education hut. I think it's so funny you call it a hut. I mean, it's the green tent with the flaps, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what the hut is.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
We don't have
oh,
tents
yeah, no,
anymore.
sorry.
Oh, you don't have
Yeah,
the tents
it's
anymore.
actually a Quonset hut now.
Oh, a Quonset hut.
Yeah, so it can actually be called a hut now.
Oh, nice. Well, see, that's like the funny thing I think about the D-Day Memorial is that there are not a whole lot of like indoor spaces. And so when you go there, it's absolutely gorgeous. I can tell that you need 144 volunteers to help with the landscaping.
Yeah, a lot of times people show up and they're like, oh, it's all outside?
Yeah.
I don't have a museum. And I'm like, well, we have some artifacts. It's not really a museum per se, but that's in the works later down the road.
How long has the D-Day Memorial been around? 25 years?
2001.
2001.
Yes. So, yeah, we're coming up on the
24.
25th anniversary, I think, next year.
See, it's hard for me to imagine a time where Bedford didn't have the memorial because I was born 2000.
Oh,
I know. Oh,
I was born in 96.
see, we're
I remember
close.
watching it open on TV.
That's so cool. Yeah, like I said, it's been a part of my life as long as I can remember.
We have a lot of things going on right now because Coleman Adams has a contract to do a cover over the Higgins boat that we have, and then the amphitheater is coming.
I've seen a lot about that.
A lot of things going on, and this Saturday is Family Day.
Yes.
So I will be working today and Saturday. Usually, I'm like Bob. I work about one day a week,
Mhm.
but sometimes with special events, I'll come back for another event. So.
And Family Day is a free event, basically from like 10 to 3. People just come in. We have some activities for kids, and then we have partners from differing organizations and everything. And then there are tours. I think they're like every 30 minutes on Family Day because there's 4 tour guides in the morning and the afternoon. So if you want a tour, come in on that day.
That's awesome. And you mentioned the 80th anniversary. You guys have a lot going on, first of all, between the projects and the events and day to day. But can you tell us a little bit about, I just want to know a little bit about the 80th anniversary and the size of it, the things you guys did, how it went.
So at that time, I wasn't fully in the position I am now. I was helping out the previous volunteer coordinator. But it was kind of good to have 2 of us because we were also dealing with like people from Framatome that were volunteering. So I got to deal with them while she got to deal with the actual volunteers. And it was an experience trying to coordinate everybody because where nobody could park on site, you basically had to tell them, this is the parking lot you park in. Then we have to make sure you get on the right buses.
Yeah.
Then we have to make sure you're in the right position. That way, you're not just out there somewhere. And I mean, overall, it turned out really good. I just know that it was a lot of planning. And by the time it was over, all of us, I think volunteers and employees alike, were like, okay, now we can take a deep breath.
Yes. Now we can just relax. And you were floating on the little happy cloud.
Yeah. And there for a while, like the week leading up to it, I was like, we might as well just live here because we were doing so much. And I was like, hey, we got enough room right here. We can just make a small bed and just sleep here.
Oh my gosh. But see, without volunteers, you wouldn't have been able to do something like that at all. Ever.
And
Ever.
One of our volunteers in particular, she was actually in charge of the World War II vets. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Having her really helped out because otherwise that would have been a horrible
Oh, yes.
disorganized event.
Yeah.
And she was the one that lined them up in alphabetical order, made sure that all their information was written down so somebody could read it. And so it helped out a lot to have volunteers on that day.
I'm sure. And do you know how many visitors a year you guys typically see?
55,000, I think, was
between-
the last, when we had a meeting in
50 to 60,000.
Yeah, 50 to
It varies. This year it's probably going to be down a little bit because we were closed a lot in January and February because
That's
of
true.
the weather. So even though we don't get a lot of visitors during the winter, it's still it adds up. And I know there were several days that we were closed because of the weather. So
It was basically the whole month of January.
Yeah.
I kept
yeah.
sending out emails and I'm like, hey, everybody, sorry. And then when people finally did come back in, we're like, oh my gosh, I don't recognize you.
That's so funny. Yeah, both January and February, between the snow and losing power and
The cold.
the
It
cold,
was horrible.
I don't think anybody worked a full work week except for maybe the first week of February. I think that was it.
Well, we still worked. I just either did it from home
That's what
or
we did.
in the office, but they didn't have to come in and do anything unless they wanted to break up ice, which I'm sure you didn't want to do.
we did that at home.
Yeah, you probably had enough of that.
Well, coming up, are there any volunteer specific needs that you guys need for either events or in general?
We're going to have Memorial Day coming up soon, so it'll help to have volunteers for that. Then we have the 81st on June 6th, and having extra volunteers for that will really help. And then Veterans Day later in the year. And there's some other little things in between, but those are the major key ones.
Mhm.
And the 81st isn't going to be as stressful as the 80th was because everybody can park on site, but still it always helps to have extra people because you can have them selling water or, just kind of monitoring, making sure that everybody's respecting the memorial in general.
Awesome. Ann and Bob, what is your pitch to somebody that is listening to this and is considering volunteering, but isn't sure if they actually want to commit to doing it?
One of the things I think that needs to be pointed out is how appreciative the staff is of volunteers. You can't walk in and not be thanked for being there. Thank you for being here today as you leave. Some volunteer organizations, I think, just kind of assume that you're there and you're going to come back and whatever without a lot of thank you or whatever. But the D-Day Memorial has been just overboard in terms of saying thanks to the volunteers, and they do things throughout the year to kind of recognize the volunteers and just express how important you are because they couldn't do the job without the volunteers. So it's a big family, and as Taylor was talking about, after people started coming back this winter, you miss the people. You see them all the time. It's like, well, I haven't seen you for a while, or if somebody's ill, or they have a spouse that's ill. People, they kind of support them, and so it's a big family, the volunteers and the staff. But the staff is always very appreciative of the volunteers, and that thank you is a word that's not said enough. But the D-Day does a pretty good job of using that word. So.
Ditto all that. Yeah, we did a nice field trip this past, when did we do that? Just a couple months ago?
February, yeah.
Yeah, we went to Red Hill, Patrick Henry's last home, and we went to Poplar Forest, and they fed us lunch. We do a fall a meal there at the memorial. They feed us. I think it's right after Christmas. We have a big breakfast. I mean, they do all kinds of things you just feel so welcomed and appreciate it.
Yep, agree.
That's awesome. I feel like I'm running out of questions. I've learned so much. Do you guys want to share any other stories?
No.
You have to come to D-Day to get those, huh?
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, one thing you were talking about different people coming in different groups. I've had the opportunity to be a tour guide for several foreign groups. I had a group of Polish visitors that came several months ago. It was part of the sister city thing that Roanoke has with a city in Poland. I had a group of German visitors. And so some of the international visitors are kind of a challenge. You're not exactly sure, for example, with the German visitors, how do you tell this story to German visitors?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that, Bob.
It's a little interesting. And I mean, it works out. I mean, there's, but it's just a little different twist when you have somebody from Germany as opposed to somebody from Dallas, it's a little different. So.
And I feel the need to mention this. My cousin's grandfather was very involved with the D-Day Memorial, Al Vincent. And when I've heard so many stories about him over the years, and talking about the exchange program with Normandy and going there and participating and kind of commemorating the Bedford boys there. Have you gone to France?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, I've been over there 3 times to Normandy, 3 different trips of different configurations. And I think if you're there and you see the real site and then you come here, you realize the connection. You see how the memorial tells the story. And I've had people here on tour that have been there in France, and they recognize that. I've had other people not long ago. I had a couple that came here, and they were going this summer to Normandy. So they kind of came to the D-Day Memorial as a dry run or kind of as a introduction to that trip.
That's
so,
cool.
a lot of people have been over there, and this, I think, just helps solidify their knowledge of maybe what they learned over there. But it's an experience. It really is. And it's just, so large. I mean, you can't cover the Normandy beaches and all in one day. I mean, it's a multi-day tour, and so it's a cheaper way to visit Normandy by coming to Bedford. So
I haven't heard that one before either. A little slice of France right here in Bedford, Virginia.
Yep.
Well, excellent. Taylor, is there anything you want to add?
Bob, did you want to talk a little bit more about being a donor and like how you can see various?
Yeah, I donate regular to the D-Day Memorial, and one of the things that I like about being a donor is the fact that being down here once a week or very often, you see where the money goes. Some places, if you donate money, it goes into a big hole somewhere, and you're really not sure what's happening to your money. But here, I mean, you see what happens. You see the people that they're hiring for the staff, and you see the improvements at the memorial, and you know about maintenance issues, and you see where your money goes, and I think that helps give you a feeling of satisfaction that you're actually doing something for something you believe in, and so it's good to volunteer and to give some money as well. So it's and it's well used. I think there's the policies in place. They're getting money in hand before they start building things,
That always helps.
Which is important. So there's a lot of good financial responsibility going on within the board of directors and the staff. So that's good to know.
Absolutely. And there's so many different ways to support nonprofits and different organizations and great things in Bedford. And I think that the D-Day Memorial is one of the most worthy causes that you could contribute to, whether it be through time or finances or otherwise.
Agree.
Even just sharing information with people about what the memorial is can have such an impact, and getting people to actually go and visit too. But if people want to learn more about the memorial, what's the best way to do so, whether they're interested in just learning about it or volunteering?
Definitely go to the website dday.org. It'll have all of our information on there. It'll also have links to the podcast, how to make reservations and stuff, how to get involved with volunteering, upcoming events. Basically, it has the whole entire list of everything that you need.
That's awesome. And you guys have a really nice website too.
Yeah.
And
it's very nice.
Is it free admission? Are there tickets that you have to get before you visit?
So you can purchase tickets online if you want to, but they're the same price as at the gate.
Gotcha.
I know a few years ago it was like cheaper to get them online, but that was during COVID and all of that's over now. So.
Thankfully.
Yeah. So regular adults, it's $15. Students and vets, it's $10. World War II vets, it's free. And then it's also free for children under 6.
Nice. And you guys have lots of camps and events and all sorts of things coming up. So there's a lot to see on the website.
I think it's June 14th. We have World War II day camp. And basically it involves just kids coming in and then learning about World War II.
Yeah. And education is a huge part of what you guys do. And there are lots of fun things to get involved with, whether it be the Victory Garden or otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to add? No? Okay, well, wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah, thank
Of
you.
course. I feel like I've learned a lot about volunteering at D-Day and just about it in general. And I'm excited to visit next time and actually see the hut and all the great things you guys have going on. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to learn more about us at the Chamber, you can call us at 540-586-9401, or you can visit our website, bedfordairchamber.com, for information about our mission and the perks of becoming a member. But also on our website is a full directory of our membership, which is helpful for finding all sorts of great things in the region, including the National D-Day Memorial. But that's all for today. Thanks so much for listening, and keep an ear out for the next Chamber Vibes episode.